Hey guys,
Hi there.
sorry, I'm just reading emails. I did not have a chance to read anything today, so I'm just catching up now.
I just sent the director's report and the director's financial thing. She sent me just a little bit ago and I forwarded on. So that's in there too.
Okay, so as for the procedure, my suggestion, procedure about the committee, changes on the policy and committees, because whatever I listed there, it's right in order. You just move from first page to the end. So I would suggest we would quickly go through, and whoever has question, make notes. And if somebody disagrees, we just, open it up to everyone and vote on whatever is 100% everybody agrees. And we will not waste time. How about that?
Sure.
Just because to jump from one place to another, very uncomfortable as there is. No, you'll have to move that thing up, down, up, down, up, down, and it's messy. So
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So this way we move all in order, and whatever we all agree on, we vote on. The only thing, they still will have to be 2 votes. The first one for the grammar mistakes. There are lots of grammar mistakes. We just want the permission. When we see grammar mistake, it would be fixed without voting. So if you allow us to fix it, because actually Cassie, she's a language teacher.
Right.
So that's such a treasure for us. So whatever she sees grammar mistakes, that you fix it, just as she goes, if that's okay. That's what, but we need permission of the board. That's number one. And second, we quickly move from first page to the end, quickly. It shouldn't be more than 10 minutes. Okay, thank you. Let me finish reading. I have 3 minutes. I have to run and get some water. Whew. Oh, it's hot here.
Hi, Hope.
Hi, Carrie.
How are you?
Good. How are you? You look great.
Oh, thank you. I feel sweaty, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some wine. What's some wine you got?
I got some coffee. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
hi, Kathy.
Hi, Carrie.
Hey, Cassie.
Hi, Lena.
No. You can just I can't reach it. That's the problem. It was like on
তুমি যদি ইয়ে অফ করে দিয়ে থাকো দেখি।
Okay. Willing to joy. Willing to joy. Did anybody call Karen in?
I think this is her coming on right now.
Oh, she's coming in? Oh,
I
good,
think
yes.
this is her.
Good. Excellent, then we can start. I did message and send her text message.
Hi, Karen Ann, can you hear us? We can't hear you though.
Can you guys hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, took a while to get through the settings and reset up. This is a little weird. It's like every time I touch a button, the audio goes in and out. Sorry.
All right, so we have quorum now. Do I have someone who would be willing to be secretary, keep notes until Joy
I'll
pops
do it.
in?
I'll do it.
All right, great. Thank you, Elena.
You're welcome.
So we will start the meeting at 6:06. Present, we have Carrie Donaldson, Elena Testa, Kathy Ryan Gidman, Karen Ann Caldwell.
Yep.
All right. I would like to make a motion. Uh-oh, everyone just froze. Can you all hear me still? Okay. I would like to make a motion. We have an executive session on the agenda. In order to make the meeting go as smoothly as possible, I would like to put a motion that we table everything, go right to the executive session, deal with that, come back and vote, and then go ahead and do the rest of the agenda in order.
Maybe not table, but move the items in agenda and move the executive session to the beginning. Because table, it's kind of, I think, complicated. It's, as I understand. So let's just move let's just move it first. Move the items in
I
order.
have a question. How do the other viewing public know when to come back in for the regular meeting?
So I tested this out this morning with my son. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move everybody but the four of us back into the waiting room.
Okay.
And then once we're finished, I will move them out of the waiting room back into the meeting, and then we can take the vote.
Excellent.
Point
Yeah,
of order.
the chair recognizes John Blessington.
Yes, what is the purpose of the executive session?
We have a personnel issue that we need to discuss, and then we will be voting on vacation pay to the former director.
If that is the purpose, I would hold that that is not a sufficient reason to hold an executive session.
I did check with the town attorney, and he indicated that it was.
The executive sessions may be held to discuss, one, individual officers or employees, and this individual is no longer an employee. Two, strategies and negotiations about pending claims or pending litigation. Unless he has filed a lawsuit with the town, that would not be covered. Security matters, real estate transactions, and matters that would just what's the word? Expose public records that are not to be. Those last three have nothing to do here. Have nothing to do with him. So I am holding that this is an insufficient reason to have an executive session, and this should be discussed in the public, by the public, or in public by the board.
Thank you, John. I'm not quite sure how to proceed, as I did contact the town attorney, and he did indicate that we did have sufficient reason to conduct this discussion in the executive session. Any suggestions from the rest of the board?
I truly don't know. Sorry.
I don't have any idea, but it seems to me, no offense to you, John, at all, but it seems to me like if the attorney's saying it does fit onto one of those categories where it should be done in executive session, then I would think the attorney would know.
Would this be, do you have the attorney's opinion in an email or in writing or anything?
Yes, I do.
Would you care to show it to us?
You want me to show the email? You know what? I'm not sure what the punishment is, I guess, if we conduct an executive session that ends up not being correct, but I'm not comfortable showing my emails right now, no. The chair recognizes Deb Linares.
Yes. Hey, Carrie. I've done some research myself this week, and I have spoken to people over at the Freedom of Information Act and also with other Connecticut Library Association, American Library Association, the State Library, and also in our book for the Board of Directors Handbook that we have and have had, when it talks about this. But I was led to believe by what was shared with me that discussion of personnel is supposed to not be done with the public. It's supposed to be done as far as under executive session. And it states so in our policies or whatever, handbook, Board of Directors Handbook. I can read it to you if you want.
Yeah, would you go ahead and read that? Thank you, Deb.
Okay. It says most board meetings are open to the public. On occasion, the board may decide to hold all or part of a meeting in executive session. Reasons for this type of meeting include, but are not limited to, discussion of personnel, legal or confidential topics, discussion of policy that should not be publicly known until finalized, discussion of security, or to discuss the interview, hiring, or evaluation of staff when the discussion of such subject may be determined to those and be detrimental, to those involved. So, I mean, this is what we have been abiding by.
All right.
And as I said, other people too have shared with me that even, some things we've done we probably shouldn't have done, would have been improper, but.
Thank you, Deb. The chair recognizes Elena Testa.
Yes, I'm not sure how to proceed, but that's my opinion. Point that director is not a personnel anymore, that he's not working enough, so that's where his point is. But at this point, like where we are now, because Kerry, you do have a written letter from the lawyer. So really, I would think we just should go to the executive session because we will be justified officially by the letter of the lawyer, which you have. That's my opinion.
Okay. Here.
An attorney's opinion,
I'm sorry, you need to be recognized by the chair, Mr. Blessington. The chair recognizes John Blessington.
an opinion from an attorney is very nice, but it does not hold, it's not legally binding. Now you can use it if and when, and which I probably will, file an FOI complaint, then you can show that to the FOI as part of your side to the story. But it is not legally binding. It doesn't totally settle the issue.
Thank you. I'm going to move us into executive session now. We will have our discussion. I'm going to move people into the lobby. The person who just dialed in, is that you, Joy?
Yes, it is me.
Okay, all right. Everybody else, as soon as we're finished, I will move you back into the rest of the meeting. And one more. Okay. I'm going to pause the recording at this point.
Yeah.
And quite simply put, you're going to spend more in legal to win. Paying them.
I
Okay.
think you need to mute her.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. All right. Joy. Okay. So I make a motion that we vote on granting the former director a vacation payout. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Elena seconds it. All right, all those in favor of granting the former director vacation payout, please indicate by saying aye. All those opposed, please indicate by saying nay.
Nay.
So that is
Joy, what's Joy?
Joy, all those who wish to abstain, Okay, so I think it was unanimous nay.
Mhm.
So the motion fails. Okay. Thank you again, everybody. Oops, your
Carrie,
Yes.
I'm sorry, what was that vote again?
It was no yays, unless you were voting yay and I couldn't hear you.
I voted yay. I'm sorry. You might have had me muted. I was talking with David and I were getting some information off the computer regarding this discussion. Sorry about that. But
Okay.
I voted yay.
Okay, so you were yay. Carrie Donaldson, Elena Testa, Karen Ann Caldwell, and Kathy Ryan Gidman were nay. And there were no abstentions.
Okay.
Okay. So next on the agenda, if I can find my agenda, we have approval of the minutes from June 23rd. Did everyone get a chance to look them over?
When did you send it to us? Just now?
Joy, do you want me to send the minutes?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I didn't send it to everybody. I just sent it to you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
All right. I'm going to, sorry, let me see if I can find. Yes. All right, I am mailing them to everybody right now. Okay, they've all been emailed. Let me know if they don't come through for you and I'll send them again.
Came through for me.
I haven't received them.
Nor have I.
Okay. I will send them again. The chair recognizes Deb Linares.
Hi, Deb Linares, Interim Director. Did you send one to us too, Carrie?
Let me double check. I have like
Please.
4,000 different windows open, sorry. All right, let me resend. Who else said they didn't get them?
I got it.
I got them.
Okay. All right, let's see if that goes through.
Okay, I got them now.
Excellent. The chair recognizes Elena Testa.
Yes, Elena Testa, Vice Chair. I would like to ask for future to send it to us at least 24 hours ahead, so we wouldn't, I would appreciate it, Joy and Katie, if it's possible.
Of course, yes. Thank you. All right, is there any discussion about the minutes? I know you guys are speed reading. Yeah, Selena.
Yes, part number 4, it says motion passes 4 yay, 1 yay, 1 nay, 1 abstain. It should be done with names. So who voted who? So it should be who voted yay, who voted nay, who abstained. That's important for the town. So just based on this, I don't know, or we want to change it now and bring the correction?
Sure. Joy, do you have can you easily access the minutes?
Yes, I have the minutes in front of me.
Okay. So if we can remember the 4 yay from that vote, I believe it was myself and Karen Ann and Joy.
I was nay.
You were nay. I believe Kathy was the abstain.
Correct.
Yes, and Sarah, I believe Sarah was the yay.
Sarah was another yay. However, at that point, she had not been sworn in, so her vote doesn't count. So I don't know how we want to reflect that on the minutes. The chair recognizes Elena Testa.
Elena Testa, also the same story with number 5. Another motion, approval of minutes. When I made the motion to approve the minutes of June, Cassie seconded, motion passes. Again, no mentioning of who voted how. And the same for the adjournment. So we have to make sure that every motion has a list of who voted how. That's state statute. We can skip that.
Okay.
So do we want to move forward with approving the motion with amendments on the votes and with adding who voted how, and we can just bring it up? So we remembered one motion, we can try to remember another motion.
Joy, can you?
Yeah, I can fix the minutes.
Okay. All right. So then the motion will be to approve the minutes with the discussed amendments. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes with the discussed amendments, please indicate by saying aye.
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 So it's unanimous. All 5 of us.
Okay.
All right, excellent, thank you. So we'll go on to the next, which is the acting director's report. Here we go.
Okay.
Yep.
Hope Gove, acting interim director. I just wanted to mention, since the time that we have been interim director, we have started curbside pickup. It's Tuesday through Saturday, 12:30 to 4. They stay in their cars. Our staff goes outside. They let us know a last name. We already have the books prepared and bagged for them. And it's an easy process. The staff loves it. The patrons are loving it. They can reserve books through our website or by calling in. As per request of the last meeting, the bylaws and policies have been added to our website for patrons to view. By order of the governor, through the Business Reopening and Recovery Center for the state of Connecticut, we are required to be self-certified before reopen, which we have done and are currently on the list. For our staff, we have all received training on our online cataloging through Verso. We had a member there call, and he spent a good 2 hours or so helping us go through the system. We were able to get books processed. We have some of our new books on our website currently for patrons to request, and we're still in the process of getting the rest of the books on there. As it comes to any of the payment protection plan that I was asked about. Currently, I'm led to believe that Monday, Mr. Roseborough and I will be completing Form 501C. This is a SBA loan. It typically covers 2.5 months of payroll costs, which can be forgiven entirely if once we receive the money, we maintain staffing levels for 8 weeks after receiving the loan. According to FEMA, when we spoke to the town, there is a list of items that we have for FEMA currently. As it stands today, we're looking to receive a little under $6,000 back. That's still going on because we're still receiving bills from the last fiscal year, so it's still updating. It could change. Our cell phone plan, we know the phone's high. We're being charged a monthly rate. We're also being charged for any long distance calls, which there is, so we can lower the costs. We are in the midst of starting a new cell phone plan, which it'll be one set price per month. For a year, we get the first 2 months free. The plan with tax and everything as it stands is under $200 a month. Where ours is. With the copier, we found out that our copy amounts personally were high in the past. We looked back with the town, that whole amount is from copies that have been made through the library, and because we haven't been open and we haven't been charging patrons, that's kind of where we're losing money on there. And the Connecticut State Library Network, that money, it's a membership fee. We use that for training for the staff. It includes all kinds of Zoom meetings, so many helpful resources that we try to use to make the library better. And we know that you guys have a lot of questions about the budget, which if you have questions, we can try to answer. We have been spending so much time trying to figure it out ourselves and have come across so many things that are costs that we shouldn't have been charged or used, things that weren't canceled, overage fees. There's just a lot of money that was kind of spent recklessly, so.
All right, thank you very much, Hope and Deb. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
So Hope, you just said there was a lot of money on copies.
Yeah.
Are they all listed under the category that says copier maintenance? Because that was the one that I was questioning, because maintenance was almost $900. Is that actually copies, not copier maintenance?
Correct. They had it under there for copies.
Okay.
Thank you. Hope, can I ask you, you and Mr. Roseborough, you said you're going to get together for I believe you call it the SBA loan. Is this the same thing as the payroll protection plan that would reimburse some of that $10,000 that we understood was already going to be reimbursed?
Can I speak? Yeah, it is actually, but it's the we were told the nonprofit part of it. So it would take care of, the town is taking care of the actual, I guess, hands-on, the material things. The COVID-19 is part of the PPP is strictly payroll.
Yes.
So it's the two things together that will be used to hopefully give us some money back.
All right, excellent. And when did you say you were going to, next week, you guys were going to be working on it?
He told, as it stands earlier today, he told me Monday he would come in and help me fill this thing out so we could get it going.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you, guys. Any other questions or comments on the director's report? The chair recognizes Elena Testa.
I just want to make the quick, I can see how diligently Hope and Debbie you work on it. We just really appreciate it. We need it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That means a lot.
The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
Karen Ann Caldwell, Treasurer. I want to thank you because these were all things that came up when I was trying to do the monthly Treasury report. Thank you for answering a bunch of my questions. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a long process, but we, on our end, we just want to rebuild the foundation because right now it has a lot of cracks. So we're going backwards. We haven't really been able to step forward, but at least we're getting rid of extra expenses and we're trying. So going this year, there shouldn't be nearly.
Yeah, we found ways to save some money right away. There was a lot of things that were money spent that really didn't need to be spent.
The credit card?
Yeah, example, there was a credit card with a high totaling close to $800.
Hundreds of dollars in late
So,
fees.
you know, these things, and we're getting some refunds, we're getting some credits, some, you know, so it's, as things
Slow
come in,
process.
we're taking care of the immediate, but also there's so much from the past that literally some are going back 6 months that need attention. And Tish at the town hall has been really great as far as, you know, helping us out too, as far as explaining things, because she gets the bills and she's looking for bills that she still hasn't gotten. It's interesting, but it's coming along nicely, actually.
Well,
I think you guys would be proud of us.
I know we are. Thank you guys very much. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
Karen Ann Caldwell, Treasurer. So Deb, that credit card that had a high balance on it that you said you were getting a lot of interest, where would that be categorized in the monthly statement?
Karen, a lot of what we're coming across, unfortunately, is for last year, 2019, and before, before the end of June. So Tish explained it all as far as how they work that. And I guess there's that fund balance that if there's an issue, you know, they'll reconcile at the end of the year, the last fiscal year. So we'll be okay going forward with the new.
Yeah.
But even today, we just found 2 other invoices that were from last year, I think March or
January through March.
Yeah, so, you know, it's, to answer your question, I don't know if I did answer it very well. Could you repeat that, Carrie Ann?
Well, basically the issue is now as treasurer, because the town is doing, I'll see what's coming in, I don't see what's going out. All I get is an end statement that says this goes under each category. So you're saying that there was this credit card with a high balance on it that you had to pay every month and you were paying interest and late fees. And I'm wondering how that was categorized when you submitted all of that to whoever is handling the bookkeeping.
What we do with any invoice before we pass it on to Tish is that we have the line items like on our budget, whether it's maintenance or custodial or staff hardware like computers or software, all the different line items. We have to go, and what we did on the credit card was we went through every line item and then we have to mark where Tish has to apply it.
And get the invoice for the items.
For the items, yeah.
We've been like little detectives.
We figure out, like with the credit card, what the charges were and where they do belong on the line item for the budget. And then
Okay, so there's not a separate line item for this?
No, and it should be being paid, like she said, Monday, so this week going forward. So once the balance of the credit card is paid off, we're gonna get rid of the credit card because the interest is it's high. There's no need, like.
Oh yeah, we were even on automatic payment for a lot of things that we weren't even doing anymore.
There's a lot of money.
There's a lot of, there's just a lot of little things that add up, I'm sure, or will add up, so.
Well, again, we appreciate all the detective work. And Karen Ann, we appreciate you taking the treasurer job. It's such a relief to know that we have people on the ball there. So thank you. Okay, so if the chair recognizes Elena Testa.
Yes, Elena Testa. I'm just not sure if we're going to talk more about the financial report after this, or we are kind of done, because I have a question about the financial report.
Well, treasurer report is up next. So if this is something that you think that Karen Ann would be the one to apply, let's move ahead then to treasurer report.
Yeah.
Yes, Elena.
Yes. So my question is about the meal reimbursements for 7,000. That sounded so out of this world. So is there any comment on that?
It covers, for one thing, it covers 6 months. We were finding that a lot of things that were coming in weren't getting open and passed on. So what had happened was we'd gotten a letter, a notice saying that there was this outstanding balance, and it showed what were 30, 60, 90 days past due. When we mentioned it to Tish, she never even received any invoices or statements. That's when we took it and took the statements and then, went to proceed. It's just that it got to be so high because it had somehow it never was addressed for whatever reason. So working backwards in that way, Elena.
Is it that credit card?
It was many, many charges over 6 months that accumulated.
For meal? Somebody paid for the meal?
No, that wasn't on.
We don't, yeah, for our end, there was no meal. What we can tell you is on the credit cards, and there was a lot of charges for like Walmarts and Big Y's and stuff. We couldn't tell you because we can't get the receipts, and it was spent, and some were large amounts. And we just don't know because we can't get that information because so much time has passed. So we had to put it under a line item, but yeah,
we don't know what that whole thing about the
we don't
food
have
is.
meals on our
There's no
side.
way, no. I don't,
All right.
unless something got moved to someplace it shouldn't have gotten moved to.
Yeah.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
I don't know if you guys have seen what I got from the town, but there is a line that says meal, REIM, which I assume is meal reimbursement.
No.
$200 was budgeted and $72.22 was spent. That's what Elena's talking about. That was $7,000 not in the budget. And I guess maybe if it was from Big Y and places like that, that's how it ended up getting under meals, is it was
Okay,
food.
we don't have such a thing like that.
Yeah, on our lines, we have no.
But
Let me forward that.
We'll look into.
Let me forward
It is the very last line right above building. It says miscellaneous and in parentheses meal reimbursement.
Oh, I know we have the miscellaneous line, and I know a lot of the stuff that we couldn't find in credit cards or whatever that we had to assign a line to was going in miscellaneous. But for us, it doesn't say /meals. It just says miscellaneous.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is what I got. Yeah, this is what I got from Lori.
We can definitely check into that.
Okay, but if this is just credit cards that someone has run up at places, 7,000 is an awful lot of money.
Yeah, we agree.
We agree. We agree.
All right, thank you. Joy, did you want to say something?
No, I don't have anything to say at this time.
Okay, I thought I heard you trying to say something in there. Okay.
Nope. Sorry.
All right, then let's officially move to the treasurer's report. It seems like it sort of dovetails in. So Karen Ann, if there's anything specifically you want to.
Well, it was a very detailed report. I don't know. I sent it to the committee, but I don't know.
Enough to pass it on.
Oh, yes, we have it.
My actual written report.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, it would have been nice to have more time, but we tried to do what we could do. We think what we came up with will be a good thing.
Good stuff.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I just got the report from the town on Wednesday. Carrie forwarded it, and so I spent yesterday struggling with my lovely little calculator in front of me trying to figure out these numbers. So overall, big concern is we are way in the hole.
Yeah.
So if we look at the report, currently we are $15,786 in the hole. And the scary part about that is on top of a bunch of savings that we had because of the Corona shutdown. So there was savings on office supplies, there were savings on amount of savings, but everything got so overspent. And so we ended up, like I said, with $15,000 over. Our revenues would have looked a lot better because our revenues were actually pretty good. Investment got just over 5,000 and donations was just under 5,000. But those donations are basically totally wiped out by the having to pay back the library state aid from the year before. So most of the donations were totally wiped out. So we did not do, we only got like $1,000 more revenue than had been budgeted, and we had way more expenses. So I have listed in the report what was good news, what was bad news, and I did say the really bad news is salaries. It's killing us. It really is. We overspent by almost $10,000 just on pages. So that's a tough one. Working out if pages are getting paid $15 an hour with the new wage setup, and there are 4 pages, each page can only work 5 hours a week. That's all we can afford in the budget. And that's assuming our budget is the same as last year.
All right. Thank you, Karen Ann. I'll open it up to discussion. The chair recognizes Deb. Did you want to?
Yeah, I'd love to if Hope and I could go through each line item to clear things up a little bit. Under good news, where it says revenues, actually, it's going to be worse because the Friends is not considered a revenue. That's not a donation. That doesn't go there. That's not what that.
It's under on my report.
No, that's what I'm going to say, Karen. So it looks worse, and actually it makes it worse. With the Friends, how it works out, the town, it's a zero budget. When you have under the bad news, the town, there's a zero budget for programming. The town doesn't give any money for the programming. Once upon a time, I think it was $200, and I don't think it's there anymore, obviously. The Friends takes care of all of that for us. How it works out, though, they don't give us donations, and so it shouldn't be listed as such. What happens is I do a program, I submit what is called some kind of, it's a check form. I send it over to Tish. Tish hangs on to that. She will pay that off to whoever the programmer is, whatever program I'm doing. And then every quarter, every 3 months, the Friends will then, I have to do an itemized thing, sheet as far as what programs and what they've cost within those 3 months. And then I hand it over to the treasurer for the Friends, and then they go ahead and make out a check and give it to either to me or to the town. We give it to, so they can then apply it towards it. It's kind of like a wash.
Yeah, like cancel.
Like we're not making any money. It's kind of even. It's like they, we have the town pay up front. The Friends group pays us back quarterly to the town. So it's not a revenue, unfortunately. In that case, it is a wash.
All right, thank you. The chair recognizes Elena Testa.
Yes, by hearing all these numbers, thank you again, Karen Ann, for this report. I am thinking if we should even consider having audit. I know we are down, but I think it's very important for us to clear everything up. So my suggestion is if we should consider to have audit in the library. And second, I would encourage us to, as soon as possible, to have maybe a special meeting for adjusting our budget for the money which we have, 187,000. So we would know how we are spending, because now it's July, we are in the new budget with the same speed of spending how we did last financial fiscal year. So we're going to be even in a worse problem. And to use our investment for just really mismanagement, that's a real waste. So I can see it as soon as possible. Let's meet, let's adjust, recount the budget, take decision about, I don't know, cutting hours or adjusting maybe with director's positions. I just don't know. I did not think about it. Whatever it takes to count our expenditure so we would be within the budget, 187,000. And again, audit, that's my big question, if we should do it or not. Thank
All right, thank you, Elena. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
you.
Okay, Karen Ann Caldwell, treasurer again. Okay, so there is a Friends of the Library line under expenses and one under revenue, the way I've gotten it. So the revenue says $464, the expenses says $5,219. So is that something, that $5,219, that you would expect the Friends to be reimbursing at some point for? It's under programs.
We would have already been reimbursed. There's a lot that we're finding that hasn't been done right. And I would ask that you give us a chance to try to figure some of this out. As far as the concern that it's going to be worse than ever, I would beg to differ. I think we're going to get things back on track. It was a bad year for a lot of different reasons. Some of it mismanaged money, most definitely. But that's not what we're going to be doing. We've got a close eye on it already. We're finding a lot of, like I said, things that aren't right. As far as what happens, whatever goes into that Friends account, and too, some of these line items we shouldn't even have, and some line items that we have should be definitely more detailed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that need taken care of, and we can work on that kind of a thing. But the Friends should be a washout. In other words, but not with what you're saying. That's done. The Friends are good about every quarter paying. They owe us no money. There's been no programs going on. The town, that item, I don't know, even there's two line items, to be honest with you. With the line item that's showing money, if money you ever see there, it will come back to us. It's only temporarily.
All right, thank you, Deb. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
Caldwell, treasurer again. I appreciate that you guys recognize that there's an issue, but you have to understand my point of view, and that is that the board apparently hasn't had a treasurer in over 6 months, and I've got an end of May report and an end of June report, and I am assuming with what I'm looking at, new fiscal year began the 1st of July, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at what is basically an end of the year statement that I got from Lori from in the town. But if I can wash out everything on Friends of the Library, that actually improves a bunch of stuff, because it says we got $464 in revenue, but it says we spent $52.19. So $52.19 minus $464 is $47.55 that we can take off that deficit of $15,000. So we're still bad, but it's only $10,000, not $5,000 or $15,000.
All right, thank you, Karen Ann. The chair recognizes Elena Testa.
Elena Testa, Vice Chair. I also would like to make a note that in our budget, we had $15,000 for buying new material, books, whatever, audio recordings, and we hardly did it. So the money was spent, but so by saying that when we say that we only around 10,000 down, in reality, we mismanaged that amount of money too. So it's easy, over 20,000 mismanaged amount. That's my just note. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Elena. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
Yeah, I didn't look at where money had been shifted from one place to another. All I looked at was where we saved money, and we saved 11,000 because that wasn't spent on books, but we spent an extra 16,000 on salary. So I didn't do any of that. We stole from somebody to pay somebody else sort of thing. I just looked at what was saved and what got overspent.
All right, thank you. The chair recognizes Deb.
Okay, I'm having a hard, we didn't have enough time, and I'm sorry, to check out all these salary things, but I want you to be aware of something else I think had affected those line items, the salary, okay? Okay, during this fiscal year, the past one that we're trying to reconcile and that we're talking about, you have to keep in mind that there are a lot of things not in our control. and we didn't have any kind of money set aside for the things that were going to happen. For example, our library board, the budget for the library did not balance for 2.5 years. We had to hire an accountant and to reconcile it. I know that wasn't cheap. We also had to have another accountant, Mr. Navratil, reconcile as far as our quarterly payroll taxes, federal, state, and state taxes, which the town wasn't doing at the time, but they are doing now. We also went to a temp agency and hired somebody that was from March until September at $37 and change for almost full-time hours. So there is a lot of stuff. Where the page money comes into, what Clea was trying to do, and I know with these grants that we had to spend money to kind of make money idea. He had hired, and mind you, we've always been in the deficit for staff people. We're always under, if you want, that's one of the reasons why you have overtime with me. You know, there were times where people were not here for sickness or for vacation or whatever, and I was the only person to step in to do it for whatever the reason was. And I've never gotten paid for overtime before. This year, because of Georgia, being the accountant said, you have to get paid. That's illegal. So that's where that all started. As far as, again, going back to the 2 pages, they were hired because, one, we needed to have enough people, like I say, when sick or whatever, and also to meet the eligibility for the grants that Clea was applying for. So all these things may have had something to do with all those, you know, problems with the different personnel salaries. And that was all expensive. I mean, I want to say our budget for last year, as far as per hour, it didn't change. I know, again, we had people taking on more hours above what they normally would have been budgeted in out of no choice. We had to have coverage. Otherwise, we could have closed. We would have been closing more than we probably would have wanted to, just because we wouldn't have coverage. You have to have 2 people there, you know, for the building to be open. So these are all things that were practices out of necessity that I don't think you guys are aware of. And it's going to make a difference in the outcome. And we can make changes for next year so that that doesn't happen, you know, but I think that had a lot to do with it.
All right, thank you, Deb. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
Karen Ann Caldwell, Treasurer. I want to thank you for working overtime, Deb, but your extra pay was really a very small amount in comparison to some of this other stuff. They don't pay you very much for overtime. My big concern, though, is because I also have the previous year-end report, is for administration for all of this stuff, we are $16,000 over for this year, and that is with not having to pay out the health insurance. But the previous year, we balanced administration. I've got the 2018, 2019 things right in front of me. And yes, we were seriously over on building expenses that year, but administration was actually balanced.
All right, thank you, Karen Ann. Before, I have another question too, Deb, before, I don't know if you guys are able to address this. You had mentioned with the SBA loan, part of the stipulations were we have to keep whatever the present staff is for X number of months afterwards. What would that look like? Like at what point? So if we eliminate pages, is that something then would then penalize, we would be penalized in terms of the SBA loan?
Probably, yes, because I think you have to have like 85%
staff.
That, yeah. So it actually worked out. Try me. Same thing if we weren't continue to get paid during the COVID time when we weren't around, when we couldn't come in. Had we been laid off or let go, or what's the word they use, starts with an F? Furloughed. You would have ended up having to spend, we would have had to have done unemployment, which would have cost the town even more money than what just just us working our getting paid our regular time because it would have been budgeted anyways. So you weren't losing really anything. The money was there because we normally would be working, so we were being paid like we were still working. But had we not been able to work, say, being furloughed and had to click unemployment, that really would have cost the town much more money. So keeping it the way that it was actually a probably good thing. Also, another thing I just thought of, we also paid out vacation pay for someone that was not in the budget either because they probably shouldn't have gotten it. So there's a lot of little things that I think are added up.
Unemployment.
All right, thank you.
And unemployment for Missy or Joe now that they've left. I think some of that may be from the last year. Last budget too.
Thank you.
It's a bad time.
Karen Ann?
Karen Ann Caldwell, treasurer. I don't know if this has been decided. Has there been any plan to replace Joe in that assistant position?
As of, well, I was going to say, as of right now, we do have our staff covering the position and his tasks, so to speak. Like, we do have all the tasks up to date. We're doing it without that position filled.
Because that was a comment I made in the treasurer's report. If you don't refill that position, the pages are fine.
Exactly.
We can cover the pages if you don't refill that position.
That's what we were thinking too, is just going forward with the staff we have. They're dedicated, they're hardworking. 2 of our pages barely have any hours now as it is. It's like 22 per 2 weeks. So, I mean, the scheduling is really under control going forward. It was just like a whole bunch last year that was.
All right, thank you. The chair recognizes Elena Testa.
Elena Testa, Vice Chair. I just wanted to make a note for Karen Ann that we do not have to pay the minimum $15 per hour this year.
Okay.
During this fiscal year, we are obligated to start paying $12 per hour. So if we just stick with that, the picture will look much better than $15. Just for the information.
But you still gotta start.
All right, thank you, Elena.
Still gotta get figured in.
Are there any other comments on the treasurer's report? All right, again, Karen, Deb, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I see there was a note about the Christmas bonuses for $4,200. That's something I'm checking in with Tish because I think it should only have been 35. Not the 42, I don't know why the extra money there, but it's saying who did this go to and why, and you're right, Christmas bonuses have never been given out before at the library. There's not a line item for that. It didn't come out of our salaries or whatever, show a difference or whatnot. That actually on page 1 where it says under good news, where it says Mr. Roseborough's insurance was waived, that $10,000 that he was giving up, actually, he did that under the agreement that we would be able to get Christmas bonuses because he felt we weren't making enough money. We'd never had one before. So that $4,200 you have listed came out of his money. And the difference from that money should have been rolled over into the staff's salaries, but wasn't. It got rolled over into actually his director's salary, which is where that 47 comes from, instead of the 43.
All right, thank you, Deb. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
Karen Ann Caldwell, treasurer. Again, I want to point out, Deb, I only found out that $4,200 was coming out of his health insurance waiver this morning.
Yeah.
So I didn't know until after I wrote the report, but thank you for clarifying that the other $6,000 is the reason why his salary is 48 instead of 41.5. Thank you for clarifying that.
All right. Again, thank you, Karen Ann. You inherited a dumpster fire, and you're doing a great job. We all appreciate it very much. Thank you. We will move on to the next agenda item, which is the subcommittee report. So I will turn the floor over to the subcommittee chair, Elena Testa.
Yes, Elena Testa. Can I share the screen? So,
yeah.
but before, okay, if I could, in a moment, I'll need it. But at this point, so I would like to say that there are two main points we are working on with policy committee. One is very minor. There are a lot of grammar mistakes, a lot of miscoordination, like wrong words used, and we were really blessed with having Cassie on the board and on the policy committee. And so I would like to ask the board, I would like to make a motion to allow us to fix the mistakes, grammar mistakes, as soon as we see them, without bringing them before the board, every mistake at the time, because there would be a lot of corrections. If we could do it. So my motion, if we could fix grammar mistakes or misprints just as we see it.
So we're talking about just simply like typos.
Typos, like for example, yes, like for example, in bylaws, there are two articles number 9. One is 9, another 10, but it's really 9/10, but there was 9. And there are a lot of grammar mistakes, like grammar mistakes. Also, so if that's okay with you, I would like to make that motion to simplify our further introduction to policy.
All right, anyone second the motion? I'll second. All right, all those in favor of granting the subcommittee the power to fix typos, grammatical mistakes, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Joy, was that a?
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous.
Yes. Now I would like quickly to go through. I sent everyone. I really try everybody to have an idea of what it's going to be. So I'm going to try to share the screen. Willington policy will start from bylaws.
Okay, hang on. Let me.
I think it's sharing. It's
you can
sharing.
do it? Okay, all right.
Can you see it? Can everybody see it?
Not
Okay.
yet.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so Willington Public Library bylaws. So the one which is on Google Docs is outdated. So it's totally not coordinating with the one which was revised in 2016. The one which is on Google Docs was revised in 2005. That's why this is but I will explain later so we could substitute it on the website. At this point, we have for the bylaws on page 2. If we go to the page 2, which is this, hold on, I was too quick. Page 2, Article 4, when we talk about the treasurer's responsibilities. It says the treasurer will keep an itemized account of all funds. Expenditures will be approved by the treasurer and the board as necessary. That word as necessary, Cassie noticed it, it really doesn't have value. It opens the avenue for when. So we suggest just to remove those words as necessary and leave it that expenditures will be approved by the treasurer and the board. So this is number 1. I would also suggest for us to move faster through everything. If I will just make a representation, and if you, every one of you guys, if you do not agree with something, if you could please make a note for yourself, and then we quickly come back to whatever you have a question or you disagree with that. Then it will just help us to move faster. So this is number 1 in bylaws. Number 2, in Article 7, Order of Business Procedures, it does not mention present to speak. That's why but although we use it and we decided to use it, so we ask you to allow to vote to support us for just adding present to speak. We suggested at number 8, present to speak. So it would be officially in our order of business. Next one. As we move further, the page 5, in I'm gonna share policies and procedures. So does everybody has Willington Public Library policies and procedures on the screen? Does everybody sees it?
Yeah.
Okay, then we move to philosophy. Forgive me if I don't pronounce it right. I'm moving because it's not that easy to scroll it. So at the end of this policy, philosophy of Willington Public Library, it has a next statement. It is the belief of the Willington Public Library Board of Directors and the Willington Board of Education. So it all connected with the Board of Education because at that time, in 2005, the library was in the whole school and it was totally connected with whatever was going on with the Willington Board of Education, because it's not really actual at this point. So we would like to remove this part, this whole red part.
Elena, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know you didn't want questions till the end, but I'm still seeing bylaws. I'm not seeing policies and procedures.
Oh, excuse me. Let me try to view a screen sharing. It says me I am screen sharing. How about others? Do you see philosophy of Willington Public Library?
No, I'm still just seeing
bylaws.
Yeah.
You still see bylaws?
Correct.
Okay, let me start. Okay, hold on. I apologize. This is it. I forgot to click. My apology.
I can.
Thank you.
Now we are all here.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is in red. It is totally, it says about connection, about Willington Public Library, dependence on the Board of Education and the whole memorial school, which is not actual. So we want to remove that. Next, page 12. Hold on, I'm gonna just do it, try to do it this way. Okay. Page 12, grant application policy. Grant application policy, we would like, if you read it, it's very short. All public library grant applications shall be received by the Library Board of Directors before submission to any other agency and organization. So what received is really extremely puzzling. So we suggest to change the word received to approved. So this word received, we suggest to change to approved. So it doesn't work now. Next. So please, you can make notes, guys, if somebody disagreeing. Then on page 20, access to the internet. Access to the internet.
That is, okay. All right. I apologize.
Sure, I can continue.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I figured out where the noise was.
That's okay, don't worry. So on page 20, that's under in the policy, public access to internet policy. Number 5 has next statement. Children under the age of 18 cannot use the internet without written permission from a parent or legal guardian. Children under 18 years of age must take home a permission slip and packet with rules for online safety, which must be reviewed and signed by a parent or legal guardian and returned to the director. The signed permission slips will be kept on file in the library. Each parent legal guardian may be called to confirm this authorization. So we had a few questions. First, we want to overwhelm our pages with work, keeping this record. Second of all, age 18, they are driving on age 16, at age 16. If we want to keep it, if we want to change, so actually, I would ask Debbie to comment on it. I don't think we really were practicing it for a while. I would like to make a comment after the whole representation. So Debbie, if you could please just make a note for yourself and comment for us if that's practical or not practical, if that's something what we continue to do or we don't do it. So that's one question. Next question, we did not discuss it on the policy committee because we did not notice, but as we are right here, please pay attention to number 7. It says a maximum of 2 people will be allowed at the internet stations at a time. So I don't think really relevant. I don't think it's applying to us in any way because we have more computers than for 2 people. So that's just, we did not discuss it. I wanted to bring it before the board just because I noticed and did not want to forget about it. So that's another question. On page 21, permission for the internet use. So if we decide to get rid of this number 5 with a limitation on children under the age of 18, if we decide to eliminate it, which will be totally up to the board, we do not want to make the board, or not the make, but to convince the board that we don't need it. We just want to bring attention of the board to this place and clarify what's really taking place now. So if we get rid of that number 5, then we really do not need this permission form for internet use. That's exactly the permission form for teenagers to use. So next, on page 28, oops, sorry, skipped it. We have, it's a Willington Public Library holiday closing policy. It is double. We have it here, and absolutely the same view of policy we have in the policies about working hours, which is much a nicer place, much a better place for this holiday closing policy to be. So we want to ask the board's permission to remove this double policy from here. Then we continue from here now to page 30. Okay, next one, sorry, I apologize. Public access to the computers. So ignore the grammar mistakes. As you see that your users are, so we already voted on that and we appreciate your help with that. But it's connected again with the previous note to the public access to the internet. Here it says parents must sign the internet usage form if children are under the age of 18. So it's all connected with our previous question. We just want to pay your attention to that. Okay, next is page 34, and I'm saying the number of the page if Debbie and Hope are using a hard copy to look at the policies. Page 34. Willington Public Library Interlibrary Loan Policy. At this point, we do not have money to participate in interlibrary loan policy, but hopefully after everything is fixed, we can really come back to it because it's a wonderful program, which I think it's great if our town would use it, but because at this point we don't have it. So we would like to add in the beginning, the most beginning of this policy, which is totally correct, except a couple of things, to add when this program is operative. So it means that if we don't put this comment when this program is operative, then people who are looking at our policies, which is really a law, they can come and they can demand from us to use this service while we cannot really provide it at this, particularly during this year, at this time. So we would like to add when this program is operative. Also, if you continue reading, materials, when this program is operative, materials not available at the library are borrowed from another library on interlibrary loan, with the exception of research projects. That opens up the limitations which we remove with the exception of research projects and just stop on whatever materials the person needs. That's number one here. And the third actually correction in this particular policy is on books on the bestseller list and high local demand items may not be readily available for interlibrary loans. To remove local demand and just leave high demand items. It's just logical and easier to understand. Hold on, I'm scrolling through my list.
Carrie, do you want to say something? You're muted, by the way.
Sorry.
To interrupt, I know I had set this meeting for 2 hours.
We're done.
Oh,
We're
okay.
almost done.
All
Almost
right,
done.
right.
That's why I'm in a hurry. Almost done. So just give me 2 more minutes, maybe less. Okay. So just last thing is on page. It's actually last thing on page 37. Joy has question about it, so I want everybody to see it. The policy of Willington Public Library Emergency Operations Plan. It is the policy of the Willington Public Library to follow the emergency operations plan for Willington schools. The plan is available at the library and is an amendment to this manual. So at this point, we don't have that plan at all. We are not connected to the Willington schools. So we would like to remove this particular, we don't have to remove the name of the policy, but obviously this is not actual the working policy. And for the further question, we need to have emergency plan, which we still don't have, but we will start working on it. We will check other libraries for the examples, and on the future meetings we will come back to. So that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Excellent. All right, thank you, subcommittee, so much. I know that none of us want more meetings, and so I think we all really appreciate the fact that you guys are willing to sacrifice more of your time for something that's long overdue, and I think it'll be good going forward. Yes, Elena.
We have to finish it up for voting. If there are any questions or if there are any comments, so let's finish it up, vote, accept, and be done. Thank you.
Okay. If I may, I have a number of questions. My first question is, where did this version come from? Because there are things that I'm seeing in this version that are different from what's posted on the Google Drive, and it's also different from how the board has been operating in the past. So if you could sort of explain the difference between, that would be a good starting point.
Yes, so the major differences, there are some minor differences in policies, which I noticed we little skipped or we missed something, but the major problem with bylaws. So the hard copy of bylaws is in the library. Debbie has it in the library, which was approved. The bylaws were revised in 2012, 2016. But we cannot find it. It's not on Google Docs. The copy which is on Google Docs was a previous copy, which was revised in 2005. And so it does not apply to us anymore. So there is a new existing copy at this point. That's why we actually retyped it, because we did not know where to find the new hard copy. Where it is saved, we retyped it from hard copy and we worked with a newly revised version of bylaws, which actually Cassie shared with everyone on the board. And when we are done with accepting the motions, I will be happy with whatever, accepting or rejecting, wherever we are. I will be happy to work with Debbie and Hope and help them to understand how to fix it and where to fix it, whatever was approved and changed.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll just list my concerns briefly, and then Karen Ann, I see, has some. I have concerns about the order of business, specifically board concerns on the meetings. We've already dealt with that here. I went back and looked at previous board meetings. It wasn't on any of the minutes. I don't know, again, where that came from, what that that's something that the board right now, we addressed 2 meetings ago, and it was something that we did not want to carry forward. My other 2, and I'll try and go real fast, in terms of the grant, I am very uncomfortable making any changes that will limit the power of future directors and give more power to the board. I don't know if you guys have reached out to other libraries. How do other libraries handle grants? I mean, I don't even know if that's something that's a very often thing that we have to deal with in this town, but you know, what is practice in Mansfield or Talent? I mean, obviously not that we have to follow them, but again, I'm uncomfortable taking authority away from the director and granting it to the board. I think something like receiving the grant, discussing the grant should be satisfactory enough, not having to approve. And the last one, I also have problems removing internet permission slips. I understand the concern about maybe lowering the age to 16, but eliminating it entirely is not something that I'm comfortable voting on. Thank you. Karen Ann, did you want to?
I just have 2 things real quick. 1, removing the page that says holiday closing, even if it is duplicated, I would prefer to remove the holidays from the work schedule and say, you know, see the page that says the holiday closing, and then just remove the bottom line from that holiday closing page that talks about when salaried employees are supposed to work. Because if I wouldn't be looking under the work stuff, I would just be looking for a page that listed the federal holidays. And the other thing is the same as Carrie just said in terms of taking power away from the director or whoever's there and putting it all in the hands of the library board. I have a real problem with removing the as necessary and not replacing it with something in the treasurer's duties, because I think if we then start saying that every single thing that they want to purchase, every expenditure that they have has to be approved by us, nothing's going to get done. So if we could say, you know, any expenditure over a certain amount, or any expenditure not already in the budget, something like that, I'd be fine, but I don't want to just remove as necessary and not replace it.
Thank you. The chair, Elena?
Let Cassie say something.
Okay, Kathy?
Oh, no, I just wanted to clarify, Karen, I don't think we had recommended removing as necessary. I just didn't know what it meant. I thought it was way too broad. And I thought that could mean that we have too much overreach rather than the other way around. But what you say might make sense, like over a certain dollar amount or some other stipulation, just as necessary, I think could both lock us in and lock us out. So I highlighted it to have us question it.
Thank you. Deb, did you want to add something? Deb?
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. There are different versions, both of the bylaws and of the policies and procedures. I've been going over them for the last couple of weeks, ever since you guys were going to start the subcommittees. I tried to get on the last 2 times for the different subcommittees. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on my computer. Because I don't know why the director or directors at this point weren't involved with going over these things. I have things that you don't have that were done that need to be added to this. Also, the nicest staff knows a lot of things too, but we don't have the right to vote, but I'm hoping you don't approve this tonight, because there are things that you really do need to know about that you haven't covered and changes you want to make. For example, when it comes to, we do have a different computer, internet, wireless procedure and guidelines. You have to be aware of the Children's Internet Protection Act. You can't just do things like what you're doing without doing further research. I have paper where further research was done and you're not aware of the changes. Same thing as far as the emergency plans. We have a packet of emergency plans for tornadoes, for snow, whatever. You're not seeing them, you're not looking at them. We're more complete than what you're looking at, and I want that to be included. And it's unfortunately you just don't have it.
Where can we get it? Where can we get it?
Well, we're just discovering this stuff. I mean, literally, we've been reading through every kind of book imaginable that is offered here. And like we found board of directors, library board of directors handbook, that there's only one and nobody else has ever seen it.
Or heard it.
Or heard, you know, we have things that were looked after when they were trying to make changes and update the policies and procedures and bylaws. Unfortunately, they never got put into action or revised, probably because they ran out of time or there wasn't people enough to do it form-wise. I'm sure there were reasons. I just don't want you to go forward any more than what you have, because there are things you do need to know. There are changes that were made. You don't have to go changing things or thinking them for yourself. Yeah, and it's hard because I know doing things like on the computer this way is tough. If it was in person, I could physically show you
we
this
could bring
stuff.
everything to
Yeah,
you.
I mean, yeah, so it's just, you don't have all the information. Some stuff has already been changed where you don't have to do. It's funny because even the things like you start off with the bylaws where they say chairman, vice chairman, with the new one, it already was corrected for chair. It doesn't say man at the end of it. So there were things that were done that either weren't implemented, weren't put into the files, or didn't get that far as being maybe approved by the board, or maybe just typed out. I don't know. But there are things you're not aware of that you really need to be aware of before you go forward with.
All right. Thank you, Deb. Elena?
So we cannot do not move forward. We have to start moving, even by a little bit, but whatever we agree on, let's approve. Let's bring it online. That's why it's important to have it online. At least we have some basic to work on, something, because the fact that you have it, nobody else knows. Even the board doesn't know the emergency plan. So then it's not an emergency plan, okay? Then it's no, I'm just saying, the emergency plan has to be fully open for everyone. And that's great that you found the information. But I mean, we have to put all that information online. We have to know it. So that's number one. So, but it's great that you have it, Debbie. You just have to find a way to share it with us so we could use it and we could put it online. Hold on a moment. Yeah? Okay, go ahead. Where am I? I'm not finished yet. So then, let me comment for everyone. For the holiday, we have the policy, Karen Ann. We have the policy about holiday hours. Those two places is where it is. It's very logical about working hours of the libraries. There are different policies, and it is still a separate policy. So if you go into content, then you just will see holiday hours in one place and then holiday hours in another. It's two separate policies. So,
sorry, Elena, but to me, that's two separate things. It's working policies for holidays versus where can the public find what the holidays are where the library is closed. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's all of the same policy. It's all the same content. It's just lists.
I understand what you're saying, Karen Ann. For user-friendly purposes, you'd want the user public to have it like, okay, can I go? Oh, nope, it's closed on that day. Versus,
exactly.
Yeah, right, and
exactly.
I understand that the salary and the professional end is something different, and that's important too. But it's not something that you would intuitively go to do the research.
Okay. Right.
I understand.
Exactly.
Right,
Thank you.
You want to finish before Deb goes on?
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Kerry. Did you recognize me? Or
Sorry, if you want to finish up before Deb, go ahead.
I would like to finish up. Just to comment on everyone's. So present to speak, Kerry, to you. We were talking with you not about present to speak. We were talking about board comments. Present to speak, we have it in our every agenda. That's a requirement for the meeting, public meeting. We just have, we were talking about twice present to speak. We decided to have it once in our agenda, but in our bylaws, we have none. That's why we use it. We know that it needs to be there, but it's not in bylaws. That's why we wanted to put it just in one place, and it is just present to speak, just so it would be there, because we still do it. So we need to put it in bylaws.
My concern, though, is that there's board comment, and again, it's a small thing. It's just indicative of a larger problem. It has something. My fear is that if we vote on this new order of business, It then contains something, specifically board concerns, which we have already voted against.
Well,
That's-
I would say
that was
board,
my-
board concerns and board comments are a little different things. But I don't know, maybe maybe it is, but it's there. So whether we like it or not, if we want to try to remove it, we could remove it now. But at this point, we are supposed to have board's concerns in our agendas, in according with this law. So in this bylaw, we can remove it.
I don't understand where that came from. Again, I've already said I've looked through previous, the last seated board, it didn't show up in any of them. I just don't understand where this thing has come up. I'm still confused about why the previous board, I mean, you said these new bylaws came out in 2016. Why was the 2019 board not following this thing? There's so many questions I have.
Yes, but if we will just start, we cannot, guys, move fast. We just have to make those baby steps.
I'm not comfortable moving fast.
And to speak to it there. But then another thing about approving grants. Question: the state library actually in their policies, they don't require, they recommend for all the grants to be approved by the boards. But again, unless we implement it and vote it in, so it just stays as a recommendation. We could leave it as it is, but again, receive it's kind of not there, but that's up to you. So, and the internet permission slip, we discussed it, 16 years old too, so we just brought it for the discussion. So whatever we will end up with, I suggest there are some obvious things. Let's at least, when we are done with the discussion, let's at least make a motion and remove absolutely obvious things which are out of context, which needs to be removed. That's my only thing. So by rejecting something, we would not miss something obviously needed, which needed to go. That's all. Sorry.
Thank you. Deb?
I guess my biggest concern is that we're all supposed to be working together. And I would like to think that people like staff or myself who have been around here forever would be able to take part in something like this, especially, and a director, which, you know, if there were one of us, we could do. I guess my concern is I feel like you're more concerned about moving fast to get something done, where I'm concerned that as you're doing that, you're not doing it correctly. And it's because of these times, I think that it's hard for all of us to get together to converse and talk about and think about and whatever. And there are years, as it's showing on all of our paperwork, that, you know, the board is supposed to review these things every year. But, you know, you think this meeting's late, you know, you're talking like hours into some of them. I think that you need to take the time to make sure what you're doing is correct, because it will be maybe years again before it's reviewed by a board for revisions, if any are going to be needed to, you know, take place. So I get everybody's in a hurry, but you're a new board, we're new. I just think that in such a hurry.
Well,
thank you.
Right.
The chair recognizes Elena.
Yeah, Elena Testa. So Debbie, actually, we would like to hear from you about the, as I asked you when I presented our question about internet access. Do we practice it that up to 18 children need to have a form completed by parents? Do we practice it? Do we have a file?
Debbie, yes, we do. And the reason why I'm thinking that is probably part of this child protection, as far as the internet is concerned, might have on it. I saw it in the book. I printed out the new version in case it had changed. I don't know how old the first one was, but I got a current updated version. I think we need to look at that. I haven't had the chance to do that, but I think we should, because that might be why there is a form. It might have been implemented for that reason. When we first started it, yes, it was used. There should be a file. I know of a couple of times that it was used. What we did do A lot of times children would be in the library who were over the age of 12, they come in without a parent. And it did happen at times where there would be a child that wanted to use the computer, but the parent wasn't with them. We then often would call and ask, and we would write on their, the child would have to have a library card and account, and we would put in the comments that the parent, the date that the parent did, but the parent gave permission on this date for their child to use the computer. So not always was the form used, but we had another means to use. But the form, I'm not saying, it may be there for a good reason that we don't know about as far as what the state or federal government might say about it. We should look into that first. Instead of just taking things like that away, kind of go backwards and figure out why we had it to begin with. Whether we use it, that's one other aspect. But, you know, should we have it? Is it something that we should be doing and we just haven't been doing? Maybe we're in the wrong if we're not, you know, implementing those forms. That's things like that that I think need to be looked further into.
All right, thank you, Deb. The chair recognizes Kathy Ryan Gidman.
Yep, Kathy Ryan Gidman, board member. So going forward, now I'm feeling very bad, Deb, and hope that we didn't include your knowledge, your forms, your input. And I'm wondering if it makes sense to table anything other than maybe, you know, the very obvious changes or updates that we've made so far, and include you guys on the next set of meetings. I think we need the input. I think we need your input. It's valuable. We didn't know what, you know, your current practice was, so it's probably out of line for us to implement policy, not knowing what has worked, what hasn't worked. Is there a way to do that, to have a subcommittee include the acting director? And
It should be, yeah.
I think it would be to everybody's benefit to include them.
Certainly for input, for input, of course, yes, I think that would be super
Yes.
helpful. Yes, Elena Testa.
Yes, Elena Testa, sorry. Absolutely. Well, the meetings are posted. We kind of expect you to include you in the list of whatever shared. That would be a right thing to do from us. When we share the information with Cassie and Joy, we should really include you so you would know it too. And I really did not think about it, and we'll fix it. But at this point, I suggest so we would move forward and let's vote out at least things which really should not be there, like school-related questions. If that's okay, so we wouldn't have to, that's a lot of work to keep reading through. So I would appreciate if we could just remove the absolute obvious things. Like, for example, if I will go, like, for example,
The
in
connection to Hall School for, yeah.
yeah, everything which is connected with whole school, that's number one. And so if you don't want to touch holiday closing, that's fine. Hold on, let me just check. And so everything which is connected to the library being a part of the whole school, that number one. There are two places like this, so they need to go. And the second thing is with interlibrary loans, because we don't have one, but in accordance with our policy, somebody can just make us to participate in it while we don't have money for it. So if we could just make that comment, that just the comment that when the program is operative, then interlibrary loan is working.
Deb, did you want to add something about interlibrary loan before we vote on those two things?
Yes. Even though we can't do interlibrary loans, what we have done so that people still have a way of getting materials, I don't want to see that completely go. I wouldn't recommend that. I think it needs to be adjusted. Even though we don't have the funds from the state to do that anymore, we still offer it to people as far as being able to go to other libraries and explanation that as long as you have a Willington library card that hasn't expired, you can go to any library in the state and ask them for materials, and that they have the right to return it to any library, even to us, for us to return to the library it came from originally. I think the interlibrary loan should be mentioned, yes, differently than what's stated there, because we can't physically do it, but I think it should be people should know that it is still available and how to go about to take advantage of it, even though we don't have it at our library right now.
All right, thank you, Deb. Again, I apologize. I set the meeting for 2 hours. If this were in person, we could extend it longer. We have 4 minutes left. I certainly don't want it to get cut off. Elena, do you have something very quickly before? Elena, yes, sorry.
Yes, just quickly. Debbie, that's exactly what we are doing. We are not removing the policy. We are just adding one sentence, when it is available. That's all. The whole policy stays with interlibrary loan.
But
The whole policy stays.
But I really believe that you should add more to it, though.
But at least this one, that way, this will protect us from somebody, because that's a law. That's a law. From somebody requiring that needs to be done, and they want to do it because it's in our laws. This way, we will be free. We do not go there.
I know. I just think that it's a service that we can still offer to some degree to our patrons, and that's something that they should know.
But that's exactly why it stays.
How about we vote on the removal of language that links the library to Hall? I make a motion that we vote on removing language that links Hall to the library. Is
I
there?
second that.
All right, all those in favor of this change, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Joy, is that aye from you? Oh. Joy? I don't know if we lost Joy. Okay, regardless, there's still 4 of us, the motion passes. We will have to table this discussion until the next meeting.
I'm here.
Oh, Joy, there you are.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I just walked away for a second. What did I miss? I'm sorry.
We just voted on removing the language from the policy book that links Hall School with the library. So anywhere where those two were linked.
That's it? That's the only one we did?
Yes,
Okay, yep, I'm for that. So that was unanimous?
that was unanimous.
Got it. Thank you.
Excellent. So we will have to table the rest of the discussions. I make a motion to, Karen Ann, yes.
One really quick thing, and it's stupid and it's egotistical. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it when I share my screen, but I'm not on the library board list on the website.
Yeah, it's got.
Oh. All right, well, we'll be sure to get that fixed. We definitely need to give you kudos. All right, Elena.
And also my term is wrong there. My term is still 2025.
If you guys want to send me the corrections that need to be made, I can forward them on to Hope and Deb, and they can take care of them. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, excellent. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.